Okay, so welcome back to the Church of King David. I am your servant, Adapted on Harris. And today we're going to talk about Abraham's power in relation to what we're experiencing in the world. And what I mean by Abraham's power is that Abraham had the ability to course correct Christ. Because when we get into the story of Jacob and Esau, we read that Isaac set his love upon Esau and not Jacob. And so we're going to read today how Abraham had the power to course correct Christ. And this is the world that we have been experiencing since that whole thing went down. Because Esau are white people in this reality. In the spiritual reality, they are Christians. And so Christians and white folks go hand in hand in the general reality. And so Christ set his love upon them first. But Abraham loved Jacob. And so this power that Abraham had in order to get the world for Jacob is quite remarkable. But the power that he had in order to get this thing done, to change Isaac's heart and get Isaac or Christ to set his heart back upon the children of Israel. This story is something that they don't want us to tap into, but we're going to tap into this today in so many ways. So we're going to read so many things that is going to deal with Abraham correcting Christ, because Abraham is not just a man. Now we must follow this rule. I didn't pull it up, but let me see if I can pull it up. We must follow this rule that that King Saul, Apostle Paul gave to us, where he said that which is natural in this matrix is before that which is spiritual. And that is a very important law to establish, because the Apostle Paul is correct that we are beings that are trapped inside these vile bodies. And as we are dealing with having to fight these bodies that Satan created, we start out in this natural understanding, this natural awareness, before we can understand spiritual things. And even Christ said that if you don't understand the natural things, there's no way that they can explain to us the spiritual things. And so this person that we call Abraham in the natural origin of things is not Abraham, is more than Abraham, I should say, beyond this veil. Okay, so let me just pull this up. Let me pull this law up, right? This law. And this is one of the main laws that you must read or understand or apply when you're reading the scriptures, okay? Is that which is natural is before that which is spiritual. So I want to pull that up to begin this lesson. And all praises be to Yahweh, the highest and holy one, and to his word that was made flesh for us, to his Holy Spirit, his Shekinah. We are now being delivered psychologically. And if enough of us are being delivered intellectually, psychologically, then will Zion appear to us. Then will we see it. And so this is this is the fight that we fight, right? So this is the fight that we fight. So let me pull this up for you. And you know, sometimes when you type in something in blue letter, even though you typed it in right, it won't give it to you. And so I just wanted to check this real quick. And I'm also checking to make sure that the microphone doesn't go out. So let's check this law. In 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 46, it says, howbeit, that was not first which is spiritual, but that which is natural, and afterwards that which is spiritual. So this is the law. So you cannot talk about God. You cannot talk about this, that, or the other thing if you cannot identify these individuals in the natural. If you don't know who this person is in the natural, there's no way that you can identify them in the spirit, including Christ. And this is why Paul also said, no man after the flesh. Though we have known Christ after the flesh, henceforth we know him no more. That's another good law to apply to every time you read the scriptures. So we're going to find out the identity of Abraham beyond the natural and why he had so much power to course correct Christ in this situation between him, Isaac, and Jacob and Esau. But I want to start right here because I think that this is really important. Where this so-called Pope Leo, made a statement. And he says that Christians are God's chosen people. Now, most of you hearing him make this statement will not connect that or precept it back to this situation between Abraham and Isaac, Jacob and Esau. But this is a statement. This is a spiritual statement that this guy is making. This guy is very intelligent because he is saying what I've been saying, right? That Christ set his love upon Esau or Christians. In this statement that Pope Leo is making, when he says that Christians are God's chosen people, that goes back to Jacob and Esau, because Isaac set his love upon Esau, and through that love he chose Esau. Esau was Isaac's firstborn son, and according to the law, the firstborn son got everything. He was the chosen, right? He was the anointed one. And so when you hear things like this, that Pope Leo says that Christians are God's chosen people, well, they're not lying. Because Isaac, who is Christ, chose them first. He did not love black people. He set his love upon white people first. And this blessing that Christ gave to his son Esau is the world in which we live in right now. And black people are going to have to just deal with it. Something else is at play for us. And we're going to see something here in a minute that they never intended to tell us. because the way that they tell us this, the Bible narrative is in their favor. Always. It's always going to be in their favor. Just like, where did I read that at? If we go here, the Genesis chapter 27, and we look at the heading for this section about Jacob and Esau receiving the blessing from Christ, we see that they put in there, right? They put in there right here. You see it down here at the bottom? It says, the stolen blessing. But Jacob did not steal the blessing from Esau. He purchased the blessing, fair and square. But these people have been manipulating our scriptures for over 2,000 years. And they will insert things like this. They will take out the name, right? They will take out the name of Christ, right? Whom they are supposed to love. But when they put in the word Jesus, Jesus is very close to the name Esau. Very close. So they will change things around to fit their narrative. And so they change the gospel. And they're going to pay for that. But I'm going to go back here to Pope Leo. All right, so he says that Christians are God's chosen people. Now we can read all through the King James that he just lied. So this guy here is a liar. Because the God of the Bible, I want you to pay attention to what I'm trying to say to you. The other God in the Bible said that the children of Israel are his chosen people. And I'm not even going to look up any scriptures to prove that to you. If you've been following my videos, you know that God said that he had put us, the children of Israel, above all people. So I want you to think about this conversation that we're going to have in this video, that the Most High, Abraham, corrected Christ in such a way that what the Most High wanted done, because when Christ set his love upon Esau, it went against the Most High, because the Most High had declared that Israel should be a people unto himself, a people above all people. But when that thing went down with Jacob and Esau, Abraham had to step in and correct it. And so we're going to find out that when the translators edited these scriptures, they knew that certain men in the scriptures they started to call God, and they're not wrong for that. But we're going to see that Abraham is called God in this story. But I want all of you Christians to sit there and understand that this is a Roman Catholic guy. He didn't say Roman Catholics are God's chosen people. He said Christians are. But if we go to the book of Gad, we're going to find out that what Pope Leo said is a fulfillment of what the prophet Gad prophesied. That Christians are not God's chosen people, and that they're going to pay a price for this lie. So let's go to the book of Gad, and I'll read through this real quick. Because I've read this before, I'm going to read it again, and I'll read it 1,000 times more as we go up through the manifold of Ahawah's wisdom. All right, let me check to make sure that this microphone is still working, and it is. All right, so let's read this. Let's prove that Pope Leo is already on the job lying. All right, so it says, woe unto you, Edom. Now, another way of saying Christian is Edom. So when we read this in the scriptures, whenever you hear Edom, it's talking about Christianity. Okay? It says, woe to you, O Edom, that sit in the land of Kittim in the north of the sea, for your destroyers will emerge from a terrible nation. They will not leave you a remnant. So there's not going to be anybody remaining in Christianity. If you are in Christianity, you are going to be wiped off the face of this planet. Okay? And you're going to find out why. For you have said, I sit on high, and only I have a covenant with the God of gods. For the Lord choose me instead of his holy people. All right, so now let's think about what he says here. Pope Leo says that Christians are God's chosen people. He's getting a letter from the ADL soon. All right. And the ADL, I believe, is the Anti-Defamation League. Okay, so they're saying that he's going to be sued for saying that. So these people are up on him already. All right, so Gad says, chose me instead of his holy people. So Christians really believe that they are going to inherit something that God's chosen people are not going to inherit. Matter of fact, Gad says, instead of his holy people, right? So that means Christians have to be unholy people, because the children of Israel are classified as holy people. So the Christians say, according to Gad, they say, for he hateth them, and his former people despised and rejected, did not truly know the Lord, the Father, because they did not know his image, the Son. We are truly wise and intelligent. We know the Lord and his law. We know his image, the Son, and the presence, the Holy Spirit. But thus saith the Lord, because you rose up in pride to brag about the God of gods, know that you will perish in your conceitedness. Now, I happened to come across a video made by Ben, and he spoke about something that an author by the name of John Allen wrote back in the 1700s about this situation. Let's go to what Ben pointed out. And this is from the Modern Judaism. Let's pull it up. So while we wait on this is buffering, I'm gonna go back to Pope Leo. All right, so we're going to read in this book from John Allen. All right, so it's the Modern Judaism, or a belief account of the opinions, traditions, rites, and whatever it says there. Let me see if we can pull it up now. Traditions, rites, ceremonies of the Jews in modern times by John Allen, 1771 to 1839. All right, so let me blow this up so y'all can see it. Let's zoom in. Now, we just read from Gad, where Gad said that Christians are going to be done away with. All right, so this is what the brother Ben and I read concerning the annihilation of Christians. So this guy, John Allen, in the 1800s said this. Let's see where I'm going to pick it up at. And it says, against the house of Esau, the cities of Edom and Mount Seir, which all belong to Rome and the Christians, and that the fate of Christians at that time will be far more dreadful than that of the Mohammedans. Mohammedans are Muslims. So John Allen is saying that when Christ comes back and he judges this situation, that because what you have to understand is that Esau lied to him, right? Esau did not tell him that, in fact, he sold his birthright to Jacob. So now Esau is really in trouble because he lied. He lied to Christ, to his face. And he got Christ to bless him, to give him a blessing. And that blessing is the world in which we now live in. If Esau had have told the truth, everything that we have experienced since that blessing up until now would not exist the way we lived it, if you can understand that. And so Christ now has got to punish Esau. And the only way that he can punish Esau is because the only way that he can punish Esau is to remove him out of existence. And so this is what John Allen is saying. And he says, and the fate of Christians at that time will be far more dreadful than that of the Mohammedans or Muslims. Okay? He says the slaughter of the Turks in the future battle will not be so great that will not be so great as that of the Christians. For many of the Muslims will escape according to Isaiah chapter 19. But of the Christians, Obadiah says, there shall not be any remaining of the family of Christianity. So Pope Leo is going back to the lie that they said to Christ to his face, that Esau said to Christ straight to his face. Let's read it. Let's go to Genesis chapter 27. And I'm just going to start right here. All right, so Jacob goes out. Rebecca disguises him as Esau. And he goes out and get the venison and he fixed the meal and he serves it to Isaac and he gets the blessing. So let's read about this blessing that goes to Jacob. And it says, starting at verse 27, it says, and he came near and kissed him. And he smelled the smell of his raiment and blessed him and said, see, the smell of my son is the smell of a field which Ahawah had blessed. Therefore, God give thee the dew of heaven and the fatness of the earth and plenty of corn and wine. Now listen to the blessing that comes to black folks. Okay? Let people serve thee and nations bow down to thee. Be Lord over thy brethren, and let thy mother's sons bow down to thee. Curse be everyone that curseth thee, and blessed be he that bless thee. See, one of the things that you got to understand with these tariffs is that Trump is trying to negotiate a new covenant with these other nations that were also deceived by the lie that white people told, that Christians were God's chosen people, and that the people that they said were the children of Israel, they were all deceived by this. And so they all blessed what they said, but they weren't blessing the right people. And now this must make these nations very nervous. It must make them very nervous to now know that they also have been lied to. So what you see Trump doing, he's kind of forcing them to deal with them a little bit longer. But I think that this is not going to go the way that Trump plans. I think that these other nations are going to revolt against these tariffs. And I don't care how low they negotiate them. No one wants to be on the wrong side of the Creator. I don't care what nation you are from. But now let's go down and let's read to Esau lying to Christ to his face. Now remember the rule. That which is natural is before that which is spiritual. And that includes Christ. And so Christ has to be a natural man in the natural scheme of things. And so let's read this. And it says, and it came to pass, as soon as Isaac had made an end of blessing Jacob, and Jacob was yet scarce gone from the presence of Isaac his father, that Esau his brother came in from his hunting. And he also had made savory meat and brought it unto his father, and said unto his father, let my father arise and eat of his son's venison, that thy soul may bless me. So Esau knew that he was trying to get the blessing falsely. Okay, this is what you got to understand. And Isaac his father said unto him, who art thou? And he said, I am thy son, thy firstborn Esau. So Esau is using his birthright, which he sold to Jacob, in order to get this blessing, which is the power of the world, right? For him and his descendants. And Christ trembled very exceedingly and said, who? Where is he that has taken venison and brought it me, and I have eaten of all before thou camest, and blessed him, yea, and he shall be blessed. So Christ said that he's telling Esau, I already blessed whoever it was and gave him the blessing. I ate the food and I blessed him, and he shall be blessed. And Esau heard the words of his father. Esau heard the words of Christ. He cried with a great and exceeding bitter cry, and said unto his father, bless me, even me also, O my father. He said, thy brother came with subtlety, and has taken away thy blessing. And he said, is not he rightly named Jacob? Right, so Esau is telling Christ, you named him Jacob. You should have known that he had this capability. You named him Jacob. For he has supplanted me these 2 times. He took away my birthright, which he did not. He sold it. He bought it. And behold, now he taketh away my blessing. Right? Whoever has the birthright gets the blessing. So Esau said that it didn't have no point for him to have the birthright if he was going to die. And so he sold it to Jacob, and Jacob gave him the meal, right? The lentil soup, that red lentil soup that he fed him with. So Jacob fed Esau and received the birthright, and he fed Christ the venison and received the blessing because he now retained the birthright. And Esau said, "Hast thou not reserved a blessing for me?" And Christ answered and said unto Esau, "Behold, I have made him thy Lord." I want you brothers, you monarchs, to understand that. In order for the Pope to make this statement that Christians are God's chosen people, they know in the same breath that you are their Lord. You are their Lord. What did Christ say? See, this is why they hide from you that Isaac is Christ. And Christ is multiple people throughout the Bible. So Christ said, "I have made him thy Lord." Right? If you go to John chapter 10, somewhere around verse 35, when the Negroes are trying to get on Christ, Christ says to them that, "Is it not written in your law, I have said that ye are gods?" This is what he's talking about. This is what he's talking about. That blessing became the law. So as he said to the Jews, "I have said that ye are gods." Here he is saying, "I have made him," or "I have made them thy Lord, and all his brethren have I given to him for servants, and with corn and wine have I sustained him. And what shall I do now unto thee, my son?" And Esau said unto his father, "Hast thou but one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, O my father." See, this is what the spirit of an Edomite does. See, now that they understand that the Israelites are waking up, the Edomites around you want to jump into that blessing. They want to say they want to receive the same thing. They want to receive something, but it's not going to go down like that. So those with an Edomite spirit, they want to be blessed as we are being blessed, but it's not going to happen anymore. They received it. And Esau said unto his father, "Hast thou but one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, O my father." And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. And Christ his father answered and said unto him, "Behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and of the dew of heaven from above. And by thy sword thou shalt live." Now remember, when you get to the book of Revelation, it says that he that liveth by the sword shall die by the sword. So here, Christ is setting the stage for the end. By the sword shall thou live, and shall thou serve thy brother. And it shall come to pass, and they did serve us. During the time when black folks reigned Europe, underneath the name Moor. Moor means black people. And they did break the yoke, right, of our dominion. And so this is the time period that Christ blessed them with. Right? Listen. And by the sword shalt thou live, and shalt serve thy brother. And it shall come to pass when thou shalt have the dominion. Right? So this is what they got now. They have the whole world in their hand. White folks or Christians cannot say that they don't control the world, because Christ gave them this blessing. Right? He says that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. So this is when they began to bring us into slavery, because they took us over throughout the entire world. And Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, the days of mourning for my father are at hand. Then will I slay my brother Jacob. Now let's continue, because this is where Rebekah comes into the story. And these words of Esau, her eldest son, were told to Rebekah. And she sent and called Jacob, her younger son, and said unto him, behold, thy brother Esau, as touching thee, do comfort himself, purposing to kill thee. Now therefore, my son, obey my voice, and arise, flee thou to Laban, my brother, to Haran. Okay? And so you got to understand this story, because this story about Jacob and Esau is about the power that Abraham had and the power that Isaac, obviously he's Christ, so we know he has power. But now let's go to the book of Jubilees, and let's hear about how Abraham intervened in this matter. So we just read that Christ gave Esau the dominion when he broke Jacob's yoke, which was when we were in power throughout all of Europe, throughout Spain, throughout Italy. We were in power as the Moors, right? Or what the white man calls the Moor. And Moor means black. Now let's go here to verse chapter 15. Or chapter 15. All right, and it says, and I'm gonna start right here in verse 15. All right, so let's read this. And then we're gonna use what we read here in the book of Jubilees to understand who Abraham really is. I want you to pay attention. All right, it says, Abraham loved Jacob. Now, most of you that read the King James, right here tells you something. And Abraham loved Jacob, but Isaac loved Esau. And Abraham saw the deeds of Esau, and he knew that in Jacob should his name, that's another clue, and seed be called. And he called Rebekah and gave commandment regarding Jacob, for he knew that she too loved Jacob much more than Esau. And he said unto her, my daughter, watch over my son Jacob, for he shall be in my stead on the earth. Did y'all hear that? See, Abraham said it's Jacob that is to take over after him. And for a blessing in the midst of the children of men, and for the glory of the whole seed of Shem. Now, I read somewhere where it said that Jacob is the man and Esau is his shadow. And this is what Abraham's saying. And for the glory of the whole seed of Shem is Jacob. And Jacob is King David. And we're going to pick this up, that Abraham is referring to Jacob as King David. All right, so listen. For I know that the Lord will choose him to be a people for possession unto himself above all peoples that are upon the face of the earth. So right there, the Pope lied. Here, Abraham himself is saying it. So Abraham saying that he knew that the Most High was going to choose Jacob to be a possession unto himself, that Jacob and his children, and that they would be above all people that are upon the face of the earth. And behold, Isaac my son loveth Esau more than Jacob, but I see that thou truly loveth Jacob. So now if we go into the King James, and we pick up this story. See, the way that they translated this was to throw us off in so many directions. Because obviously now we understand that the one talking to Rebekah is Abraham. But in the King James, it says that it is the Lord God. Right? It's saying that it's the Lord. So let's go to this. This is Genesis 25, verse 22. And it says, and the children struggled within her. And she said, if it be so, why am I thus? And she went to inquire of the Lord. And the Lord said to her, two nations are in thy womb, and two manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels. And the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger. But what did we just read? It is Abraham that she is talking to. Let's continue. In verse 20. So Abraham says, add still further to thy kindness to him, and let thy eyes be upon him in love, for he will be a blessing unto us on the earth from henceforth unto all generations of the earth. You see, they are calling Abraham Lord in the King James. And it's Abraham that's speaking these words. Think about what he's saying. He says, for he will be a blessing unto us on the earth. For he will be a blessing unto us on the earth from henceforth unto all generations of the earth. So I think the translators understood who Abraham is. And he says, let thy hands be strong, and let thy heart rejoice in thy son Jacob. For I have loved him far beyond all my sons. Listen to what he's saying, y'all. Let thy hands be strong. Let thy heart rejoice in thy son Jacob. So this is what Abraham is saying to Rebekah. For I have loved him far beyond all my sons. He will be blessed forever, and his seed will fill the whole earth. If a man can count the number, if a man can number the sand of the earth, his seed also will be numbered. And all the blessings wherewith the Lord has blessed me, and my seed shall belong to Jacob, and his seed always. And in his seed shall my name be blessed, and the name of my fathers, Shem and Noah, Enoch, however you say that, Enos, Seth, Adam, and these shall serve to lay the foundations of the heaven, and the strength, and to strengthen the earth, and to renew all the luminaries which are in the firmament. And he called Jacob before the eyes of Rebekah his mother, and kissed him, and blessed him, and said, Jacob, my beloved son, whom my soul loveth. May God bless thee from above the firmament, and may he give thee all the blessings wherewith he blessed Adam, Enoch, Noah, Shem, and all the things which he told me, and all the things which he promised to give me, may he cause to cleave to thee and to thy seed forever, according to the days of heaven above the earth. And the spirits of the Mastaman shall not rule over thee, over thy seed. Right? So y'all hearing that? So in other words, I'm just going to say, and the spirits of Satan shall not rule over thee, over thy seed, to turn thee from the Lord, who is thy God, from henceforth forever. And may the Lord God be a father to thee, and thou the firstborn son. Now let's go get that. So he's saying that Jacob should be the firstborn son. And so we heard the same statement made about King David. This is why I keep telling you that Jacob is King David. And we're going to see how the powers above feel about King David. And I'm going to read something in a few minutes about King David that's going to blow your minds, because the way that they wrote the scriptures caused a lot of people to jump off sides, because you have to track these gods from being mortal men. Because like Paul said, that which is natural is before that which is spiritual. So who was these deities while they were flesh and blood men? And so we have been tracking them. And so Abraham is not just Abraham. When he died, he transitioned into the spirit world, and he is somebody in the spirit world. And we're going to find out this very thing about Abraham and King David. So let's go to Psalms 89 verse. Let's see where we're going to pick this up. We're going to find out that King David is the firstborn son. In Psalms 89 verse 27, and it says, also I will make him my firstborn, higher than the kings of the earth. So this is what Abraham is saying to him. The Lord God be a father to thee, and thou the firstborn son. So this is why I keep trying to tell you, King David is the new son of God. It is his time. And that time and this rulership with him is everlasting. It's going to be everlasting. Okay? Because Ahawashi has broken the deception of Esau and has now transitioned everything into a new thing. So let me read this out. And it says, and to the people always, go in peace, my son. And they both went forth together from Abraham, and Rebekah loved Jacob with all her heart and with all her soul, very much more than Esau. But Isaac loved Esau much more than Jacob. And this is the situation that we have. Now let's go to the legend of the Jews. When Moses is taken into paradise, he sees something about Abraham. And so I'm just going to pick this up right here. When Moses and Shamshiel are going into paradise. And it says, but not even he who is prince. So Moses asked Shamshiel about the size of paradise, but not even he who is prince thereof could answer the question, for there is none that can gauge it. It can neither be measured nor fathomed nor numbered. But Shamshiel explained to Moses about the thrones. Now I want y'all to listen. That they were different one from another. Now let's just stay on track. See, we got so many things here. Hold on. Let me go here. Let me use this one. All right, so Shamshiel says to Moses that one throne is different from another throne. See, like I said, you gotta renew your thinking, right? Because these translators were setting traps for us. They were setting so many stumbling blocks that we have to jump over and over and over until we get the full understanding. All right, so this is 1 Corinthians again, chapter 15, verse 41. And Paul says, there's one glory of the sun and another glory of the moon and another glory of the stars. For one star differ from another star in glory. So here in the legend of the Jews, Shamshiel is telling Moses that one throne or one star, because that star, those thrones shine like stars. He says that one differ from another throne. One throne is different. So when Paul is speaking about the stars, he's speaking about thrones. And that one man's power will be greater than another man's power based upon how he performed in Ahawashi. All right, so it threw me off, but let's go pick it back up. And it says, but Shamshiel explained to Moses about the thrones. that they were different one from the other, some being of silver, some being of gold, some of precious stones and pearls and rubies and carbuncles. The thrones made of pearls are for the scholars that study the Torah day and night for her own sake. Those of precious stones are for the pious. Those of rubies for the just. Those of gold for the repentant sinner. And those of silver for the righteous proselytes. The greatest of them all, continued Shemshiel, is the throne of Abraham. Is the throne of Abraham. The next in size, the throne of Isaac and Jacob. Then come the thrones of the prophets, the saints, and the righteous, each in accordance with a man's worth and his rank, and the good deeds he has performed in his lifetime. Let me read that again. The greatest of them all, continued Shamshiel, is the throne of Abraham. Now I want y'all to ponder that for a second, because the story, a lot of y'all, including Hebrew Israelites, are still stuck on religion. You're not seeing this the way it should be seen. Like we were made here, and then we die, and then we go into that other world. But in that world, we are not just mortals anymore. We're immortals. We have an immortal heritage. And that heritage is telling you that Abraham, Abba, Father, has the greatest throne. Next in size, the thrones of Isaac and Jacob. Now, we know Isaac is Christ. But let's find out who Jacob is. But before I do, let me finish reading this out for you again. The greatest of them all, continued Shamshiel, is the throne of Abraham. The next in size, the thrones of Isaac and Jacob. Then come the thrones of the prophets, the saints, and the righteous, each in accordance with a man's worth and his rank and the good deeds he has performed in his lifetime. Moses asked then, for whom the throne of copper was intended? And the angel answered, for the sinner that has a pious son. Did y'all hear that? You see, like I told you, instead of y'all celebrating vain things like Mother's Day, Father's Day, if some of you women that receive your false glory on Mother's Day, that because a lot of you are not worthy to be put on a pedestal. Let's just be real. But instead of you doing that, if you would have had the faith, I should say, of the woman that came to Christ and said to him that even the dogs eat the crumbs that fall from the master's table. If you would have humbled yourself in that capacity, you would change the destiny of your children. And this is what they're saying here. For the sinner that has a pious son, through the merits of his son, he receives it as his share. You see? I know brothers that don't even have their sons come and even study. See, if they would have done that, they would have given themselves a throne. If they would have made their sons come and learn the word, they would have sat on the throne. Let me read this again. For the sinner that has a pious son, through the merits of his son, he receives it as his share. Now let's read something about David here. And y'all forgive me because over the last couple of days, I had gotten hoarse and slightly underneath the weather where I wasn't really feeling jacked up, but my voice had gotten hoarse, my nose gotten stuffy, and all those, pollen allergies and all that stuff got the better of me. And so I didn't make a video. So I'm going to have to get back into the flow of things, But I want to come here because I pointed out that the 8 great princes that were up in heaven with Enoch, Ahawashai, those guys are all named Ahawa, and we can track them in the King James. The King James, the translators of the King James did not want you to understand that we have been encountering the 8 great princes a lot of times. And sometimes they appear in the chapters. It's more than one of them. And in this case with Abraham, I'm telling you that Abraham is not just Abraham, but Abraham is the great one. And the legend of the Jews just proved that Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob are not just mortal people. And so when you are told to look for King David in the last days, or look for Jacob in the last days, it's because he's one of the great ones. And so let's find out who King David is. And the prophet Gad tells us. All right, so this is the angel instructs Gad. I want you to listen to what Gad is told here. Okay, and it says, and the one dressed in linen came down to me and touched me, saying, write these words and seal them with the seal of truth, for I am who I am is my name. And with my name you shall bless the whole house of Israel. Now hold on, let's go back. Let's go back to the book of Jubilees. Where did it say that at? I think Abraham says the same thing. Oh, right here. And he says, and all the blessings wherewith the Lord has blessed me, and my seed shall belong to Jacob and his seed always. And in his seed shall my name be blessed, in the name of my fathers, Shem, Noah, Enoch. However you say that, Enos, Seth, and Adam, right? So we're hearing this same thing. And with my name, right? Because now King David or Jacob has the blessing of Abraham. So he has to come in that same name. Okay. And with my name, you shall bless the whole house of Israel, for they are of a true seed. In a little while you shall go and be quietly gathered to your fathers. But at the end of days you shall see with your own eyes all these things, not as a vision, but in reality. For in those days they shall not be called Jacob but Israel, for no iniquity will be found in their remnant, for they will belong entirely to the Lord. And these words will restore your life and spirit. And this shall be the sign unto you when you enter the town. You will find my servant David while he is reading these words from the book of covenant. And so this is what David will be reading. And yet, for all that, when they are in the land of their enemy in America, I will not reject them, neither will I abhor them. Right? Like the Edomites have said, that Yahweh hated us, right? To destroy them utterly and to break my covenant with them, for I am the Lord their God. Now, I want you to remember this. It says, the one dressed in linen came down to me and touched me, saying, write these words and seal them with the seal of truth. For I am who I am is my name. So Gad, he goes and tells David the vision. And let's read what happens when Gad goes to visit David to tell him of this vision. And it says, and it came to pass when I came to the house of David, the man of God. When I came to the house of David, the man of God, I found him as the one dressed in linen. And the one dressed in linen came down to me and touched me, saying, write these words and seal them with the seal of truth. For I am who I am is my name. And it came to pass when I came to the house of David, the man of God, I found him as the one dressed in linen. And the one dressed in linen came down to me and touched me, saying, write these words and seal them with the seal of truth. For I am who I am is my name. And with my name, you will bless the whole house of Israel, for they are a true seed. So who is King David? And it came to pass, I'm going to read this again. And it came to pass when I came to the house of David, the man of God, I found him, David. I found David as the one dressed in linen. And the one dressed in linen came down to me and touched me, saying, write these words and seal them with the seal of truth. For I am who I am is my name. Let's go to Psalms 89. So I'm just getting back into the flow of it. And I'm telling you, you better understand who is who in these scriptures. So the powers above say, I have found David my servant, with my holy oil have I anointed him. with whom my hands shall be established. My arm shall also strengthen him. The enemy shall not exact upon him, nor the son of wickedness afflict him. And I will beat down his foes before his face, and plague them that hate him. But my faithfulness and my mercy shall be with him, and in my name shall his horn be exalted. Do y'all understand who is talking? I will set his hand also in the sea, and his right hand in the rivers. He shall cry unto me, Thou art my Father, my God, the rock of my salvation. Also, I will make him my firstborn higher than the kings of the earth. My mercy will I keep for him forevermore, and my covenant shall stand fast with him. His seed also I will make to endure forever, and his throne as the days of heaven. I'm going to read this again. See, when they say things like this, right, that the Christians are God's chosen people, they have no clue of what they're talking about. They have no clue. For God says, I clicked on it, but it just can't keep up with me, right? So when they say things like this, Christians are God's chosen people, they're telling you a lie, because they tried to deceive Christ. You see, if you don't understand the word in this natural form, there's no way you can understand who is who in the spirit behind Satan's veil. There's no way you can understand that. You see, let's go to Romans chapter 9 right here. And then I'll go back and I'm going to read that about David is the one that was dressed in linen, who said, I am that I am. See, y'all heard that before, right? See, these guys have been coming down. See, when they're not in the flesh, they're still alive in the spirit. And they're coming down to interact with us because we are their people. We are all one family. See, remember this? It says not only this, but when Rebekah also had conceived by one, even by our father Isaac, for the children being not yet born, neither having done any good or evil, that the purpose of God according to the election might stand, not of works, but of him that calleth. It was said unto her, the elder shall serve the younger. As it is written, Jacob have I loved, Esau have I hated. What shall we say then? Is there unrighteousness with God? God forbid. You see, we got to get mature enough to realize that when they saying Lord God, this, that, and the other, that is talking about Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, or Adam, or Enoch. And you got to understand, you got to count them. And you got to put this family story back together away from the narrative of our enemies, because our enemies don't have a problem with saying that they are gods, because as long as they can generalize that this is not Abraham speaking, they can deceive us. But if you knew that this was Abraham speaking, or this was King David speaking, or this is Isaac speaking, or King Solomon, when we read about King Solomon, when King David said by the Holy Spirit that King Solomon is his Lord, that he is Christ. You see, you want to ignore that, but they can deceive us when we don't know who is who in the natural, is the whole point of this video. And so Abraham is identified, according to the translators, as being God. He's not the Most High, but he is being recorded as being God? Is there unrighteousness with Abraham? Is how we're supposed to see this. And God forbid. No. No. No, no, no. And so then we get here and we read. And it came to pass when Gad came to the house of King David, the man of God, I found him as the one dressed in linen. So King David has also played the role of the Lord. And so they're telling Gad this. I want you to think about this. Listen, it says, listen. But at the end of days, you will see with your own eyes all these things, not as a vision, but reality. What reality? The King David. And the one dressed in linen came down to me and touched me, saying, write these words and seal them with the seal of truth, for I am who I am is my name. Y'all know the story about Moses. I'm not even going to go get it. You shall see with your own eyes all these things, not as a vision. In Habakkuk, it says what? That the vision is yet for an appointed time. That appointed time when it becomes reality. What reality? That these men, these great black men, are the gods. And they have been the ones interacting with us on this planet in this satanic simulation. And so we have identified Abraham tonight as being God, a God in the Bible that y'all call God. You don't, that's why Howard Shire said that unless you knew that salvation was of the Jews, you do not know who you're praying to. And now it's becoming reality. King David is just not a man who is written in the scriptures. He is a God. Abraham is a God. Isaac, obviously, we know he is a God, but many of you don't accept Isaac as Christ. You don't accept King Solomon is Christ. But think about this. I want to read this again before we get out of here. And the one dressed in linen, right? Hold on, before I go there, the Spirit saying go back here and read this for y'all again. And it says, I will also make him, right, my firstborn. Abraham said that. Abraham, this is Abraham's doing. This is the power of Abraham. And I will make him my firstborn. Abraham wanted to make Jacob or King David his firstborn, higher than the kings of the earth. And so what happened is that they had to correct Christ. And to prove that, let me prove that. Because some of y'all are starting to wake up. Y'all starting to understand. Let me see if I get it right. If I need to, I will stop the video until I find the right scripture, because I want y'all to understand that even Christ had to be corrected. And so now we are identifying that these great black men, when they die and they go into the spirit world, they go into the real reality, they come back and interact in this simulation on our behalf. Because if they didn't, then where would we be? but they generalized everything. They generalized everything so that they could deceive us. And some of y'all are still underneath their deception so bad that y'all are still accepting that Christians are God's chosen people. And that's the furthest thing from the truth. But let's read this. And it says, now I say that the heir, as long as he is a child, differs nothing from a servant, though he be Lord of all, and is under tutors and governors until the time appointed of the Father. Even so we, when we were children, were in bondage under the elements of the world. But when the fullness of the time was come, God sent forth his Son, made of a woman, made under the law, to redeem them that were under the law, that we might receive the Spirit, that we might receive the adoption of sons. All right, so this is not the one I wanted to read, so I'm going to stop it. Then I'm going to come back. Testing. All right, so I found the scripture, so let me go to it. All right, so it's Hebrews chapter 5, verse 8. All right, so I'll start here. In verse 7, it says, who in the days of his flesh, okay, pay attention to that. Who in the days of his flesh, when he had offered up prayers and supplications with strong crying and tears unto him that was able to save him from death, and was heard in that he feared, though he were a son, yet learned he obedience by the things which he suffered. And being made perfect, he became the author of eternal salvation unto all them that obey him, called of God and high priest after the order of Melchizedek. And I believe that Melchizedek is King David. And this is why Abraham knew to set his love upon Jacob, because he knew that Jacob in the spirit is Melchizedek, right? But nonetheless, even Christ had to learn obedience, right? By the things in which he suffered. So when you see that the white man beat this man and put this man upon a cross, that was the final draw, that he could not love them. And so what is he going to do? What is Christ going to do to now show the white man that he loves us, that he now understands he's now been corrected? Hold on, I typed in the wrong one. I'm so excited. A storm is coming, so I'm trying to hear it and finish this video. So if we go to Revelations chapter 3 and we read verse 9, this is confirmation that Christ has now been corrected, to no more set his love upon them but us, like everybody else, right? Because Christ was going with the law. He wasn't wrong for wanting to set his love upon Esau, because Esau was the first to open up Rebekah's matrix. And everything that opens up the matrix belongs to the Most High. And I'll just say it like that. Belongs to the Father of Christ. Okay? And so he knew that. Isaac knew that. And so Isaac was going with the law. But he didn't realize, because he was in the flesh, that Esau sold his birthright. So let's read this. So this is Christ speaking. He says, behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which is the house of Esau, which say that they are Israelites. Listen, think about this. I want y'all black people to understand what's about to happen here, because he just indicted himself to fulfill what Christ is saying here in Revelation, because this guy, Pope Leo, says that Christians are God's chosen people. So he is saying to say this is to say that they are the Jews, because the Jews are the chosen of the chosen, right? So he is saying that they are God's chosen people. Well, listen to what Pope Leo is going to have to bow. He's going to bow before me. He's going to have to worship me, right? Listen, it says, behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, or the house of Esau, which say they are God's chosen and are not, but do lie. Behold, I will make them come and worship before thy feet, and to know that I have loved thee. You see, now he's for us now. His love is set upon us now. Now we can jump up and down and say hallelujah. You see how all of this played out? I didn't make this man say that. He was just newly elected as this false father, right? Because that goes against what Christ said, called no man father upon the earth. Pope means father. So you're saying Father Leo, which goes against the commandment of Christ. These people are totally out of order. But I want you to understand that to say that you're a Christian is to say that you're God's chosen people, like he just said. And Christ doesn't agree with that. He says, behold. So all of you Christians, when you see me, bow down and worship. Bow down and worship, because Christ is going to begin to make y'all bow down and worship at my feet and the rest of these brothers' feet, that they are God's too. Behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say that they are God's chosen, which say they are Jews and are not, but do lie. Behold, I will make them come and worship before thy feet, and to know that I have loved thee. Now we can go into the scriptures when Christ was told, when David was told, if Christ commit iniquity, that he would get beat with the rods of men, with the stripes of men, meaning military, right? And that happened. These white folks beat him. They beat him so bad. They beat him bad. I mean, they beat him bad. I mean, let me pull this picture up real quick. But they beat him so bad, y'all. But the reason why they did that is because they betrayed him. They didn't love him. Esau didn't love Isaac at all. That's why they did this, y'all. That's why they did this to him. And they still faking the funk to this day, acting like they got something coming. And so this is why when you get to the Apocrypha, it says that Esau is the end of the world and Jacob is the beginning that follow. Look at the sorcery that they put over your minds, thinking that the world was ending for everybody, but that it's only ending for them. It's not ending for us, because Christ is now with us. He loves us. His love is going to, the way he's going to show his love is he's going to make them worship us. That they're going to have to come and bow at our feet. Not just bow at our feet. They have to lick the dust off our boots as a sign that he loves us. Because this was a lie from the beginning. This was a sham from the beginning, from the very beginning. And these people should be ashamed to carry this on all the way up until this point. So with that, I'm going to say Abanawa forever. Got this storm coming in. I apologize for the mistakes that I made in this video. I will do better the next time to serve you guys better. And I hope that this video has woken a lot of you up Be careful who you speak to and how you speak to them, because some of you are obviously speaking to King David, and King David is just not King David. And these people have set the narrative so bad that it's very hard for a lot of us to get out of this lie. But see this picture here? This is the truth. You see? This is the man that they beat. This is the man that they put upon the cross. This is that man. And they are the people that did it. The very people that asked him to bless them. And because they did this, they brought an end to their world. And like I told you, he had to die and come back as a new life form so that they cannot receive it anymore. This is why they're doing what they're doing with the robotics and AI and all this other stuff. Y'all haven't seen anything yet. These people know fully well that they will not receive this new life that is in him. They will not receive it for what they've done. They murdered this man. After asking this man for a blessing to give them the opportunity to rule the world. And he was man enough to let them do it. He was man enough to allow them to do this tragedy. I want y'all to think about that. So with that, I say Abanawa forever. And we'll be back. We'll be back. We'll be back.